Hello and welcome back to Nintendo Nostalgia. I am your host, Jacob Rush, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Ryan Black, and we are back, and we are playing with some more power. Ryan, what's going on with you today? How are you, my friend?
I'm great, man. I'm in good health. I'm extremely sore from yesterday. We did an all-day outing. Draco has been cooped up in the house for weeks, so we borrowed my mom's vehicle because our vehicle is currently not able to transport Draco. And so we borrowed my mom's vehicle and we went to basically the Castleton area and did one world for sushi and Japanese food. I got my katsudon and then we ended up going to Joann's and Micro Center, and then we went to the mall there and to all the shops around there. So yeah, it was kind of a just like, hey, you're healthy enough to get out and go and do something kind of thing. And it was also kind of a journey for Draco, just because like we went to Build-A-Bear, and that was the first time that he's been back since his brother died. So and he was one to always treat Draco to Build-A-Bears and things like that. So we just kind of did some of that emotional healing and empowerment that was much needed for Draco. So it was a good day overall. Very emotional, but also exhausting just in general, being around all those people and all the walking and everything. So yeah, but pretty good. What about you, man?
I'm doing good. Just, been active, and summer's starting to wind down for the kids and I both, so kind of mentally gearing up to go back to work for the first time in like 5.5 months. But, besides that, things are pretty good overall. The weather finally cooled down drastically the past few days, which is just amazing. I've probably said it but on the show, but summer's my least favorite season of the year. I don't like the heat, man. I don't care. I'm not a beach goer. Like, I'll go for my family and friends, but if it was just me, I would never go to the beach. I don't care. I don't like the ocean.
Yeah.
If you know me, I'm more of a winter, and I would rather vacation in like a beautiful snowy mountaintop than go to a beach, personally. Mm-hmm. I like warming up next to a fire, warm drinks, versus I think it's easier to warm up than it is to cool down, vice versa. So, I like the weather it's just been perfect. It's been like the low 70s to low 80s the past few days, so that's fantastic to me.
Yeah.
But besides that, just living life, man, taking it day by day. But I don't know if there's anything new on your plate that's got you like really excited. So why don't we go ahead and get into what we have been radical rexing about? All right, Ryan, is there anything new in life? Anything you're gaming? Anything you are really hyped for as of late?
I completely wrapped up 1,000 Year Door, which is pretty cool. And I've kind of been dabbling. I did a little bit back more into Fortnite. Just leveling, trying to get towards that level 100 at least. I'm not sure how far I'm going to go, but they just released yesterday some Pirates of the Caribbean stuff, so I'm gonna try to unlock that. But I also started Final Fantasy VI. I'm very early in the game. Currently, I had 3 in my party, just added a 4th member. And again, that's within the first, couple hours of the game. But yeah, I'm making some progress in that game. I enjoy the soundtrack quite a bit. They just did a really good job with those the different arrangements and stuff. But yeah, I have a problem, Jacob.
What's that?
My Holy Grail game is available for purchase in a local game shop.
Oh, really?
The problem is it's the rarest, probably the rarest Virtual Boy game in existence. And I am really tempted to trade in a bunch of stuff to get this game. It is a $750 game.
Wow.
And it's just the game with the dust sleeve. Like, it doesn't have the box or the instruction manual, which I'll have to, get eventually to get complete in box. But yeah, I am seriously, like, the limiter is off. Like, I am considering trading in my collector's editions, like my big, huge, like Overwatch collector's edition, and I had to run all this by Draco, and Draco has to approve it. But like, I'm gonna like do my best to come up with the money to get my Grail game that I've always wanted. Like, that's just like my goal. Like, if I ever like have a video game collection, like this is the one piece that I have to have. And so Jack Bros is up for grabs, and I am trying to get money together for it with trade-in stuff. Nothing I can really do out of pocket. But yeah, I may be lightening the load. I'm gonna do my best not to touch my Nintendo collection, but I might have to hit a couple of like collector's editions or something that I already have like digitally on Switch. But you know, it's it's gonna be interesting to figure out if I can come up with that.
Wow.
I'm gonna try reaching out to the owner and see if I can't make some kind of an arrangement, like payment plan. But it sounds like they're not really set up to do any kind of like anything like that. So, just look for. I'm gonna figure something out for that. But I'm really wanting to go for that Grail game because like it's the fact that it's like local and available. Like it's crazy.
It's like fate.
Yeah, but like $750 is a lot of money for a video game. And
that
especially,
you're never gonna play.
I'm gonna play it for sure. I just gotta get I'm actually have my project right next to me to get my Virtual Boy back up and running.
You know how sad it's gonna be if you do this, you make it work, you buy it, and then like Nintendo drops a surprise announcement and Virtual Boy games are coming to the Switch.
Oh, I'll be happy. Like, I mean,
yeah, but the value of that game drastically would drop in that store because now it's available everywhere. The reason it's that high is because it is so scarce. You can't get it anywhere. And yeah, it's the not very many people even have the console to play it on anyway. So that's why that price is jacked up that high. Yep. But if it became readily available, it would drop in price.
Probably. And see, that's not the value of it for me. It's the want to own that game and to play that game and experience it because it was the very first twin stick shooter before twin stick shooters were a thing. And
I'm just saying that you would have if you would have only known.
Yeah.
I mean, man, I don't know. You know, I would not do it. But if that is what you want, go for it, man.
It's definitely something that
if you can swing it, don't be foolish about it. You know,
dude. I even thought about selling my complete collection of Smash Brothers amiibo, like for that. So
why would that? See, that sounds silly to me. You've spent all this time tracking those down.
I considered it, but I'm not going to necessarily go for it.
15 years from now, you'll be paying somebody $700 for that. You know, I don't know, that Cloud Strife amiibo for on sale, whatever. You know.
Yeah, I know. Maybe my Rock Band equipment for Wii or something.
Yeah, you can get rid of that crap.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Other than that, gosh, I don't think I've been. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily Radical Rexing, but I was playing, Dragon Quest IX, and I had sunk in at least 350 hours, maybe 400 or something like that. And they did an update, which if I didn't save in game, and I just used the save states wiped, so I lost about 100 hours of progress. So, like, I was just like, so that was kind of a waste, and it made me kind of not wanting to play the game anymore, of course, I found an online save editor that lets you edit the file to add things, and so I've been adding things back in to where I was, before like the reset, so I can manually manipulate it to get my game back to where it was, but it's just not going to be the same, And so, like, it's kind of fun to do that, but at the same time, like, not many people get that opportunity to update their save data, and for their game and add in things, and you can max out your 100 rare candies or whatever, But no, I'm just trying to rebuild that, and I don't know if I'll even pick it up again or play it. I just wanted to kind of restore things back to the time that I lost, but it just doesn't. I've lost the drive to want to play that anymore because of that, unfortunately. But
yeah.
But it was cool to explore the save editor and see how that worked, and kind of a project that I picked up because I was just like, man, I'm really, really sad I lost all that progress. So yeah, but that was kind of cool to explore what options I had and how I could restore the data, or if there's anything I could do to save things. And yeah, that was a fun little project. But what about you, Ben?
For me, I'm nothing really. I mean, just keep hitting the gym, trying to get in shape. So little by little there, that's always exciting. Still playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Been really just kind of that's been my main focus when I game. I dive into that. It's like I said last week, it's definitely sunk its teeth into me now. So like, it's just like, it's what I think about a lot in my spare time and listen to the soundtrack a lot. And just, I really love this game. It's fun. And I'm definitely approaching it a bit different than I did Remake. Cause I've devoted to like being all in. So I'm trying my best. I go through every area. I do every single task that I can do in these massive areas. And I'm doing everything. And I'm doing what I did with Breath of the Wild. You know, I did every shrine. I mapped out every part of the map. I did every single thing you possibly could. Besides the Korok seeds, that was stupid. But I did everything you could possibly do. That's what I'm doing in this game. Just because I love it. When I love a game like that, I want to do everything. And that's what I'm doing right now with this game. And it's got a good balance of, you know, by the time you kind of get sick and tired of like exploring and doing things, you get back to the main story. And then when you're a bit done with doing some main story stuff, it's nice to take a break and like, hey, let's go explore around the new area and unlock side quests and things like that. So just loving that game. And I guess maybe the top thing that I'm really radical correction about this week is that the Deadpool Wolverine movie is coming out next weekend, and I'm just so excited for that movie. Finally the first X-Men, you know, DCU Fox crossover that's going to happen, MCU. And it's got Hugh Jackman. MCU, sorry. Crossover is going to happen with Hugh Jackman. You know, I think Deadpool's funny, but I'm definitely all about this movie more for Hugh Jackman because Wolverine's my favorite superhero, and he's one of my favorite actors. And in the past, I've always been obsessed with that character, so it's really great to have him back. And they just dropped like the final trailer yesterday, and I watched it. And I tell you what, if you have been on the Wolverine X-Men movie trail ever since they came out originally, it hits you in the feels a litto bit, and it's exciting to see what they're going to do with that character moving forward. Because, you know, it sounds like, too, that, you know, Hugh's going to be around for a while. It doesn't sound like, hey, he's just doing this movie and he's out. Like, I think they have big plans for him in the MCU moving forward, which is just exciting because it's just like, you got all these recasts of different characters, and to me, you know, I've always been dreading the day they recast Wolverine, you know, and because it would be a hard pill to swallow. But you know, I'm sure it will happen one day. But from what it sounds like behind the scenes stuff is that this is not a 1-2 movie deal. This is like, hey, we've got plans for this Wolverine moving forward, and I'm excited about that. So. I probably won't be at the movie. I don't go the day of movie's release, too chaotic. But I'll eventually see it, probably I hope to see it before I go back to school, which is officially August 2nd for teachers. So, and then students are back the next week. So we'll see. But yeah, that's what I'm radical Rexing about. But I know that we are a little shorter on time today, so I don't want to waste any more time. This week, Ryan, I chose the game. I chose this game because after our wonderful Nintendo E3-ish Direct in June, got bit by a Metroid bug. It happened again. A Metroid bug bit me, and was obsessed with Metroid there for a while. And if you listen to us, said you've heard me talk about them. That day they announced that they were putting Metroid Zero Mission out in the eShop. So I went back and I speed ran as fast as I could through Metroid Zero Mission on the side, which was fun. I beat it. It's a short game, and it's fun and it's nostalgic. And then I went and I did Fusion, and I 100% did Fusion on the side there too. Kind of filled my Metroid reserve tanks up a little bit here, my energy tanks, for the time being until I get hungry or thirsty for some more Metroid. I tell you what, I would have probably replayed Prime if my son didn't lose my freaking copy of the game. I'll have to buy a new one eventually bite the $40 bullet, which is annoying. But besides that, I played these games, and I was like, you know what? I mean, this is perfect timing. I really think we should talk about Metroid Zero Mission. Metroid Zero Mission, Ryan. This game came out in 2004. It was developed, obviously, by Nintendo for the GBA, and it was a big deal because this was a remake of the original Metroid from 1986. And it's retelling the story of the original Metroid game with updated gameplay, better graphics, better sound, and it's questionable for a GBA sound chip, but it was better than, I guess, the OG.
Yeah.
But it was basically it was a modern take on the game, and it's it's kind of like what with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Remake. It's a modern take for today's generations of those old games, and that's what this was for that time. And it's beautiful. It really it gave more detail to the story, stuff that the original game did not show. It shows more behind the scene things, and it just makes things. And that's what these remakes do for Final Fantasy VII. They are just adding in all this detailed beef that's never talked about in the original games. And that's what makes the games even longer. This game had all the updated modern mechanics of Metroid that Fusion and Super had built upon. And this was just kind of like a fusion, no pun intended, between those two games to really just make this... A lot of people argue that this is like the peak perfect 2D Metroid game out there. If you're going to play one, this is the one you want to get because it's designed perfectly. The story's not too overwhelmingly long. I would even argue the gameplay isn't too terribly over the top hard, but it's challenging enough to make you enjoy it. But the game came out, like I said, February 9th, 2004. It was acclaimed, very, very popular. I was excited about this game. Back then, I was still on my Metroid love because, I mean, this was just 2 years after Fusion and Prime, and then Prime 2, I can't remember when Prime 2 came out off the top of my head, but it came out right around here. You realize, Ryan, this is the Metroid fever era that we are in. At this time, we're getting Metroid Prime, brand new 3D game. Metroid Fusion, new 2D game. Then Prime 2 gets highlighted. And then we got, obviously, this one. We had Metroid Prime Hunters. We had Metroid Prime Pinball. This is all in that era of give us lots of Metroid. And they're letting you replay the original game, too, through the Fusion and the Prime connection. And I'm pretty sure they re-released it on the Game Boy Advance.
Yep.
Classic packs. So we were getting so much Metroid. So this was a perfect time to remake that first game. And then after that, obviously we got Prime 3, and then we got, unfortunately, Other M that made the Metroid train stop for a good, I don't know, almost maybe 8 to 10 years there, which scared people enough to think, like, are we ever going to get Metroid ever again?
Never slowed me down.
And then... No, not me either. That's when we went back and revisited the old games, started replaying them. And to be honest, we're pretty much in, I'd say, a modern Metroid renaissance again, Ryan. I would argue we are, because we got,
Possibly.
Even though we had Fed Force, which wasn't what people wanted, I kind of started it a little bit, lit the flame. And then, I mean, not possibly, we are. I mean, we got Metroid 2 Remake. And then a special console for the 3DS, and then we got the teaser of Prime 4. But then after that, we got Dread. We got a whole big, talk about deluxe. We got Dread deluxe packaging. They treated that game with top priority. And then all the games are now pretty much on Virtual Console. We got Prime remastered, and there's all the obviously, we got an art book. Like they put a lot into that Dread game. And we're getting obviously the Amiibos and the Smash inclusions. We got more Metroid representation in Smash with Ridley. I mean, it looks a little different and the time frame is longer because it takes longer to develop games. But we are in a Metroid renaissance today. But I'm going down a rabbit hole here. Let's pull it back. Metroid Zero Mission 2004 was in the hype of this first Metroid or second Metroid era, and it was awesome. Ryan, do you have any? Did you get this game originally, or was this like later down the road? Because my specific memories, I got this game at launch. I don't remember how I got it, who I got it through. I really don't remember that, but I do remember I got it, and I specifically remember beating it at your place. Your mom came and picked me up. You were still in school with your sister, and she picked me up. I guess I was out of school. I don't know. Maybe I was off or something. It might have been like a Friday, and I was off. I don't know what time frame you got out of school. I can't remember that, but I do remember your mom came, picked me up, had my GBA. I played pretty much Metroid the entire time. Took me to your house, and I remember beating the prototype Meta Ridley. Which was kind of a tease for what because Prime would have come after this game. I remember beating that at your house in your old bedroom while I was waiting for you to come home from school because your mom left to go get you or whatever. Those are some of my key memories with this game. But what about you? Did you get this game at launch, or was this later down the road? What is your time frame with this game?
So I did get it at launch. That was definitely era where I was pre-ordering stuff, and like Metroid Zero Mission was awesome. Like my memories of it, I remember playing the game super vividly. But what was going on around me, arguably, like I didn't remember like what I was doing or who I was around or anything because I was just so focused on the game. Just totally lost in that. I do remember coming home and you being so excited about beating Zero Mission. I remember, gosh. Were you sitting on my bed or?
Probably. I mean, where else am I going to sit? I'm not going to stand the whole time in your room.
Yeah, and I believe that was around the time I had that wire cubicle set up with the TV sitting on it. Like, yeah.
Oh man, those are good times.
Had the Nintendo Powers underneath on the bottom shelf, and yeah. Gosh, I remember.
Can we go back in time?
I remember one of us had the stand for Zero Mission. I can't remember which one of us did. The cardboard stand. It was not very big. It was just like one of those like countertop stands. But I
think I did.
I think so. Like one of us.
I think I did.
We were together when we got it. I don't remember who actually took it home and got to keep it. But yeah, that was cool to have that little cardboard stand, and it was just I tried many times to play Metroid. And I don't think at the time I had beaten the original Metroid. I was like, man, this game is just so.
I never had, no.
I got so lost and frustrated with it. Like, it's just like I want to try this, like a new take on it. And so when this game came out, like it was natural, like because I get to explore new themes and new, like they're expanding on the Metroid universe. I was like, how can they make this game like more exciting? And, like, it's pretty, they say it's, like, pretty short, but you get lost really easily. And then I heard that like, you had kind of a map. I'm like, okay, this game gets a little better because you have a map. Like, I could probably do it with a map. Not realizing all the other content that they packed into it.
Right.
Like, they added quite a bit of lore to the Metroid universe.
A lot.
Just with this one game. And, it was funny, the parallels that I drew from playing this game and my first time playing Metroid, the original Metroid, on an arcade system. At this lake trailer. It was like a vacation trailer park type place on a lake, and their canteen, or like their main area where they have like the docks and the lake and everything. They had like a building that had just a small arcade, and they had Metroid on this arcade machine. And I remember playing the heck out of that. But starting that initial startup with Samus, like starting out at the top of, I guess it's not technically Brinstar, but at the top of the planet, Zebes, and going left to grab the morph ball, and that whole feeling, and then just like being transported into a modern era and playing the pixel art version. It was just like it was. I'm pretty sure I played through Fusion again just before this, just to get ready for this, and so like going into it, like the textures seemed a little bit more alive, and the background seemed just a little bit more
definitely
alive and very organic, and like there was some depth to it. And they added like there was like this shadow motion behind Samus as well, which is kind of cool. The shadow effect that would track you. It just gave you a little bit more of like a speed feel, or like it was kind of a cool idea. And then being able to get certain power-ups, like being able to grab onto ledges and things that became very necessary. Like a lot of things that you get from Zero Mission is staple in Dread. And so like it improved on that formula, because we didn't really have another like 2D Metroid experience. I mean, you can count Samus Returns. But like
this was the last 2D pixel art game we've ever gotten, and probably ever will, unfortunately.
And I would say that this is more of in the vein of Dread. Like, yes, I did really like Samus' Return, and with everything that they did for that. And it was redoing the first or the second game, which didn't have a lot of depth to it, even less so than Metroid did. But Metroid Zero Mission, it did something really, really awesome. Like, it gave permission to the Metroid Returns team to really flesh it out, and it informed them how they were going to go and create this massive adventure off this little tiny Game Boy game that was easy to get lost in. And so like this was kind of the launching point. Like the team that worked on Zero Mission, like just informed the rest after it. And you see that beyond that. Like it's one thing to go through Fusion, with your guided, computer system guiding you, and you go to the different sectors and everything, and it has that kind of that horror element. This takes it away from the horror element and just goes and hammers down the mechanics of what makes a 2D Metroid tight and really, really just focused and perfected in almost a way. And things have just built on from there. Like whether it has a horror element or not, like things have been built off of what this game established as far as mechanics, and even some of the tricks that you could do in Zero Mission with like Shine Spark as a ball form and things like that. Like they were some really, really cool puzzles, some really challenging puzzles. And it just, I could definitely see why people think that Zero Mission is like the definitive 2D Metroid experience. I mean, personally, I liked Fusion more, because Fusion was my first experience in that genre of as far as like on the Game Boy, and getting those secrets in special ways, like using mechanics to get secret areas and secret rooms and stuff. And Zero Mission built upon that and had its own secrets and things you could do with its power-ups. So yes, those games kind of all informed each other, but this was kind of the jumping off point, and it's kind of the cliffhanger in a lot of ways. We had to wait quite a while before we got another 2D Metroid game, and it was 2.5D, of course, but and that was
the RAM.
Game Boy Advance. It skipped the whole DS generation, really, because we had a Prime entry, but that wasn't even like great, I guess. But then 3DS came around, and you've got that game, and you've got you had a Prime game that didn't turn out very well either with Federation Force, but like that was kind of the Metroid Zero Mission was the last great Metroid game before this long drought, and really it gave those developers time to really like percolate and take that formula and go with it. So I think that the team that did this did a really good job in expanding Metroid lore. It definitely it was just at a time when I just wanted know more about Metroid. Like, who are the Chozo? Like, what was Samus like, as a kid? What happened with Samus's upbringing? Like, I didn't have the manga or any of that stuff. I didn't have that information. Like, I saw something in Nintendo Power, but even then, like, I think that was probably around the time that this game came out.
It's really a travesty that they have never brought that to America.
Yeah.
I mean, Metroid sells the best in America. Why on earth is that not an English translation packaged in a giant book to connect the stories and make things make more sense?
Yeah.
I will have no idea. It's really frustrating. I mean, they do it they give Zelda all this crap that we don't even ask for. I really would love a Metroid manga to flush out the story so people can stop being confused. Because to this day, some people are confused about stuff.
I think it leaves opening for, they talked about like, the Metroid series is done. Like they completed the Metroid, besides Prime, like the Metroid arc with Metroids and stuff was completed with Dread, 1 through 5. And so that gives us the option to go back. And what if we get to play as the Chozo from that era that found Samus and like experience that past, but like you playing the Chozo
prequel game?
Like
that would be
you actually
so
play before you become the bad guy, as in Dread or whatever. Like, what if you get to play as that person or as that character, or even get to see the portrayal of that character, with her one of her dads,
that'd be really cool to like have a game where it's like. You can tell these are like bird-like creatures, but the Nintendo doesn't say it's like Metroid.
Yeah.
But when you play it, you start to see like you start connecting the dots, and then you realize it's like the prequel to her being found and alive, and like you're actually playing as the Chozo, and they create all the abilities for her suits and stuff, So
it would be cool
that would be cool.
And it would be that would be the gameplay hook. Would be like you're a Chozo, so you're bird-like, and so it's very different feel from like a human wearing a Chozo suit. So like you might have some additional things you have to get the feel of and like mechanics and stuff, and you could still get the upgrades and the Chozo upgrades, but you get to learn about the Chozo lore, and there's a whole like trove of information that they could pull from and build out.
Totally.
And that's stemming from Zero Mission. Like they took a game that had very little story other than what was in the instruction booklet and fleshed it out into this grand adventure with story and seeing Samus as a little kid in murals and actually proving that you're worthy of the Samus armor to get the armor back. And it's so cool to be exploring the history. And what if we could go back and experience the past and live the past with being a Chozo or something like that and find out how Samus was discovered. We get to see the traumatic event that was Ridley, taking her parents' life and how she was rescued. It's probably going to be like a really awesome adventure. But I think that Zero Mission really kind of is the linchpin that explodes into the Metroid cinematic universe, if you will, and just fleshing out the world even more. Like we're getting bits and pieces through Metroid Prime, and they've wrapped up the main Metroid story. So there's a lot of directions that they can go with this, and eventually we'll have the triumphant return back to Samus and her new Metroid heritage, adopted heritage, I guess, but. It's interesting to come full circle with, becoming the Chozo, having the Chozo blood and everything. And they could explore that even with what it's like when Samus becomes like part Chozo, she's part of the clan.
Yeah, well, I mean, to bring it back to the game, I'm glad that you even mentioned that because this game, so first off, I would like to state that, even though it's regarded today as like one of the top, probably the definitive game to start off with if you want to know what a Metroid game is. It did have some criticisms, like IGN back in the day said it stemmed from short length regarding a weak one-shot experience, felt like players would enjoy the game after they had completed it and played it again. A Eurogamer was very critical of the length quality. They said that Nintendo should have made the experience last longer, which was disappointing with a short-lived experience, but blamed game's captivating quality and compelled them to complete the game in a few sittings. And then GameSpy even asserted that players who are less familiar with Metroid games would get more enjoyment out of it because its similarities to previous Metroid games. So, like, it wasn't 100% across the board. Everyone loved it. And if I even recall, Ryan, my biggest complaint is even though I just said it's I guess maybe I've kind of accepted it. It is a good, quick, fun game to play now. I don't like how short it is. I wish it was longer. And which is funny because they added, getting back to my connecting point to you, they added extra material. There's a whole subplot after the whole game. So spoilers if you haven't played it. Sorry, it's been out since 2004, 20 years. That's your fault. Or, go stop it here. You can go play it. But you beat the game and then you leave and you get to, it was neat to see like, oh, this is what happened after the credits rolled in the first game, hypothetically. Something we never saw, a new chapter. Your ship gets shot down by space pirates, you crash back land on the planet, and you lose all your suit upgrades. You know, everything you worked the entire game, something that normally happens at the start of the game, you lose it here at the end of the game after you beat it, and then we get the infamous, this was a big deal, the infamous Zero Suit Samus. At this point, she was always a big secret. What does Samus really look like underneath that armor? And Nintendo gave her a very tight outfit to run around in. And you get to play as her. And you're very vulnerable. It kind of gives you back that feeling of what the original game, I think, went. Because the original game, you were so, like, weak. You know, the original design, you don't have any power. The designs are jank. You're very weak, very, very weak. And in this, you kind of feel the same way. You have no armor. You just have a little stun gun, and you aren't fast. You just basically have to be stealthy and survive long enough until you make it through. I don't even know what Samus knew what she was even doing. I mean, she's just like goes through their ship, and then she stumbles upon these ruins, and then getting back to your point, you like find a new power suit hidden within these ruins, and you basically kind of unlock it. I don't know. It tries to tell the story of your history with the creators of the suit and you as a little girl and them adopting you. They tell the story through these loose little moments, and you finally get it, and then you're even stronger than what you were at the end of the when you killed in quotes Mother Brain, and you blast out of there. And the secret final boss officer is that Meta Ridley prototype. But you know, the game did a good job at showing more story, but it was short. I mean, like I said, you can beat it very fast. It's just designed to be quick, and I do wish it was a little bit longer. I do. But
that's not to say that the game wasn't packed with a lot of content.
Oh no, it was.
I mean, you had 8 different endings you could unlock, and you could view those images in a gallery, which you could also unlock. Once you beat the game, you got kind of an image gallery of all the different unlocks that you have, or the different ways you beat the game under certain times, 100% with everything. Complete the game on hard mode. You get a sound test. You know, you get the original Metroid game. Like, it's packed in the game. The original Metroid game is on Zero Mission. I believe this is the first time I actually completed and beat the first Metroid game. Now, I did use Justin Bailey to beat it, but you know, that was my first time beating the game was in this Zero Mission like experience. And then if you linked it with Metroid Fusion, you could like link up with it and you get like a Metroid Fusion gallery. So like, and I had to get all the galleries. I had to get, you know, unlock everything as far as like the different ending pictures, and it was just different pictures. Samus is doing different poses in different environments with varying levels of suit or lack thereof. And you know, it's interesting. Like, they really gave Samus an image outside of the suit, and it was a bit divisive at the time because
she
like
got her own character.
My cousin is possibly a bigger Metroid fan than I am. She was kind of bothered that they gave Samus like a blonde bimbo sort of look, because her original Super Metroid model was like, she was built, like she was a built woman with brunette hair and, you know, just kind of like really like almost Amazonian tall, and like really muscular. If you look at like the Yu-Gi-Oh card, is it Amazonas Queen or something like that, or Amazonas Warrior or something like that? Like, that was kind of that look of her at the time, and so it's different to see her like skinny and kind of the more the slim, agile, blonde feel. It's just it's a different feel, but I think that other than being a bit divisive for some Metroid fans, like, I think it goes really well. Like, I had no issues with it personally. I was okay with the model that they chose. Yeah, it didn't quite look like the Samus from Days of Yore, but then again, the Samus from Days of Yore had green hair, you know, when you did Justin Bailey. So, you know,
My only complaint was I thought she looked much different than what they showed off in Prime. I felt like Prime was a good time to restart and really give us a clear image of what it was. And in Prime, when she takes her helmet off at the end, it does look like she's more like a brunette. You know,
she has a fuller face as well.
Yeah,
she's a lot more trim, which is fine. And I really did like. Again, I have no issues with that. Like, was I happy to get Zero Suit Samus in Smash Brothers? Of course. That wouldn't have happened for that Zero Mission. So, Zero is in the name, even Zero Suit.
Right. Yeah, now it's a shoehorn. I mean, that's the image. I mean, there's a separate amiibo just for the Zero Suit.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that was a
she's her own
transformation.
character.
It was a secret transformation you could get in Brawl. Like,
right.
That was so cool to be able to like use that power move and the armor would fall away. But then you also do like a button combination when you selected the character. When you're launching, that would let you start with the armor falling off. You could throw the pieces of armor around, but you were actually Zero Suit Samus. Like, that was so cool.
And I like her look. I'm just saying it here. I think her blonde, sleek look now, I think I would be upset if they changed it from that, because that's what I like.
It's definitely like it's codified. Like it is set in stone. That is how she looks. And they could mess with it later, but I don't know. I think that's just how it's going to be. Like, they can build her out with muscles or whatever later, or give her some more, like, I guess, fortitude when it comes to emotional fortitude when it comes to like dealing with her traumas and the future stuff. With it was some steps back as far as how they conveyed things with the ninja team on Metroid Other M, but I think it didn't really damage her image publicly from what they introduced here in Zero Mission. But she's just, I like that they gave her, she has a bit of a survivability in Zero Mission. Yes, she could get taken out in one shot, or get taken out by, she's very vulnerable, but she can also like do the stealth missions and stuff. That was a whole new mechanic to Metroid Zero Mission. And when you had Zero Suit Samus and had to get around without having the ability to do charge beam, you could just like paralyze your enemies, and you had to be like kind of Metal Gear Solid stealthy. It was a nice mechanic. You got a little taste of it in Dread, trying to avoid the Emmys, and I think they did a really good job. But speaking of Emmys, I don't know if you knew this or not, but the team that worked on Dread, that was focused on getting the horror element of it, is the people that are doing MEO with that Famicom Detective Club.
Yeah.
So that guy was kind of like carrying on. Like, so I did pre-order that just because there's some Metroid pedigree behind it. But that all comes from like this Zero Mission game. To tie it back to that, like the stealth elements, you are human, but you're still not incapable. And like how Samus is going to survive this, getting through, the space pirate. I guess it's a ship, the ruins of a ship. And from my understanding, I wanted to say it was probably the ship that was inhabited by Phantoon later in Super Metroid. I want to say.
I don't know if that's confirmed, but maybe.
I believe they talked about it being a crashed ship, and it could have been Ridley's ship that crashed with that.
Possible. That'd be cool.
But yeah, that kind of ties in there too with the horror element with Phantoon. But yeah, it's just it's so cool to experience this Metroid world and experience where she started out, but in a better environment, a better platform with more vivid graphics, sound for what it was on the Game Boy Advance and everything. Like,
yeah,
it's good.
And the game, outside of the story, the game itself even gave more bosses. There's a couple, originally it's just Kraid, Ridley, and Mother Brain. It gave us, obviously, I already said, the prototype secret end boss, prototype Ridley, Meta Ridley. It gave us that giant centipede that goes from room to room if you don't kill it right away, which was cool. It was a traveling boss. Kind of the same idea as like the robot from Fusion. And then we had a giant slug moth boss that was introduced to the game too. I'd say maybe those are more minier bosses, but still, they were added to the game, and it just added more meat to the story, kind of made things flow a bit better, make more sense, taught you how to play the game a little better too. And you got to realize this game came out in the 80s. The original game was pretty much copy and paste almost of every area's room, and the whole... I mean, the only way I beat is because I got a guidebook for when the NES Classic came out, and it had the game in it, and it literally shows you, room after room, and a lot of it is just the same exact rooms, and you get lost because you're like, am I here or am I here? And it is a mess. So they really got to really just make it its own and change that up. Overall, this was a very well-received remake. Back in 2010, Nintendo had it as Nintendo Power ranked it at 46th best game for Nintendo systems. Even though IGN, bashed it a bit, they gave it I think they nominated for end of the year best game at Game Boy Advance game. They also gave it I think in 2020, it was ranked as one of the all-time 5th greatest video game remakes ever. So it is highly beloved to this day. And I am with you, as a matter of fact, Ryan. I think Fusion is much better. As I just praised this game is awesome. First off, there's not a bad Metroid game. Honestly, outside of Other M probably being the worst, which is a different experience. Fed Force isn't a Metroid game; it's just got Metroid in the title. I guess you could. Okay, I guess the first two, the OG original and the Game Boy, yes, because of their limitations of the systems and that time frame, they're very rough to play today. But super on up, I would say that none of the games are bad, I personally prefer Fusion because of the isolation and the scariness, the horror aspect of being hunted down. A lot of people don't like Fusion because they thought it handheld you, told you where to go next.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily mind that. I like being able to explore within those regions. I think that could have maybe made it better. Obviously we did, but it could be fleshed out a little better. But overall, I liked the feeling and atmosphere that Fusion gave me more than the other games. So, but really, this is a great game, and if it's on the Nintendo eShop, if you have not played it, it's a game that I would highly recommend. And it is, as funny as it is that it's criticized, and I criticize it for being so short. In today's busy life as an adult, that actually makes it more appealing now to want to play it, because once you get hungry. I replayed this game, I think, back in after Fed Force came out. I remember rebuying it at a shop and just replaying the game, my copy of it, and I beat it fast. And that was late, 2016, 2017-ish era. And then I just replayed it again, and it was fresh, So, Ryan, any final thoughts about this game and whatnot to end us off here?
I don't have too much to bring up other than what I've stated. It was a really, really good game. It didn't quite trump my feelings of the Metroid Fusion, but it definitely was on par with it. I didn't feel like it was better than. I didn't feel like it was worse than. I kind of put it on the same pedestal, but I like Fusion because Fusion was my first experience, and it got the Atom side of things, and it was a lot more it was a new story essentially, and it was cool that they fleshed out the old story. But yeah, it was definitely a much needed port. So that's kind of my feelings on that.
Awesome. Well, other than that, Ryan, why don't you tell everybody where they can find us at, and then we'll get out of here for the week.
Yeah. So everybody, if you are not listening to us regularly, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music at Nintendo NOSIN, on Spotify, Amazon, and Pandora podcasts. You can find our Facebook page at Nintendo NOS. You can find us on TikTok at Nintendo_NOS, on X Twitter at Nintendo_NOS. You can also find us on Instagram at Nintendo NOSIN. You can also send us an email at Gmail. It is nintendonostalgiain@gmail.com. You can also call to our nostalgia hotline and share your memories and show us some love at 317-969-5690. We actually do have a backlog of calls that we're going to be going through here soon, and just kind of doing an episode where it's just like celebrating our fans and those who have called in. So look forward to that, but definitely past the month of July because we're doing all the Game Boy Advance stuff this month. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, week to week, and we're glad we're able to put this content out for you, and I hope you enjoy like catching up with us and hearing about our lives and our love for Nintendo, and hopefully we share a lot of love for the big N that you do. We will catch you next week. Later, Preston.
See you next mission.